Hello friends, welcome back to Verified. So, here are some of the burning questions about DV application. You have to watch this till the end before you enter into the DV lottery application. And these are the questions. The first one, can I include my old mother in my application? This is an interesting one. And I understand. Maybe you have a very old mother and she is ailing, or an old dad that is ailing and you are the close attendant. And you don't feel like leaving her or him behind. And therefore you're asking, can I add them in the application? Unfortunately, you cannot add them in the application. The only people that you can add in your application, and I've talked this many times, are your spouse and your biological children, or your adopted children legally, or your stepchildren. Those are only the people that you can add in your application, and no one else. Question number 2. What names should I use? Should I use the names that appear on my birth certificate, or should I use the names that I used in the passport? And this is a tricky one, and it has raised many questions to many people, but I will answer it clearly today. First of all, it is interesting that some people have different names appearing on their birth certificates to those appearing on their passports. And I wonder, how did they apply for the passport? Because we normally use the information on the birth certificate when applying for our passports. But that aside, if you have different names appearing on those two documents, which one will you use? The answer is you can use the names of either of the two. And let me make this clear. At one point during your DV process, you will have to unify the names. What do I mean? During your DV lottery process, if you become successfully selected, you will have to unify your names either by reapplying for one of those documents to make sure that the names they match, or sometimes you may use the affidavit of names. But at one point you will have to prove that you are the same person. And therefore, you can use the names on your passport if you can go back and reapply for the birth certificate to include the names that appear on the passport. Or you can use the names on the birth certificate and later on go and reapply for the passport to unify the names in the passport with those in the birth certificate. Are you getting the answer? Whichever you choose to use, later on you'll have to unify the names, either by reapplying for whichever document or by swearing an affidavit of names. But it is more important if you reapply for the document that you want to unify the names. I hope the information is clear now. Question number 3. I don't have a PO box address. What do I use in the address? Two answers. You can find your neighbor or your close friend and use their PO box address if your country uses the PO box address. Just get the address of your school, the address of your friend, your uncle, your relative, and use it in your application. There's no problem with that. Number two, whichever the address you use in your country, use that address in that address slots that you're supposed to fill in the application. Whichever format you use in your country, use that address, but don't leave it blank. Use whichever address you can get access to that is used in your country. Is it clear? We continue. The fourth question. Will my names that differ in both birth certificate and passport affect my selection? Not at all. It won't affect your selection. But upon being selected, just as I have discussed earlier, you will have to go and reapply for one of the documents to unify the names, or use the sworn affidavit of names. And on the same note, others ask, the names on my academic certificates, they differ from the names on my birth certificate. Is that an issue? That should not be an issue, because you just have to swear an affidavit of name to prove that you are the same person appearing with those different names. Simple as that. Can I use my marriage names? We know when people get married, one spouse may take the name of the other spouse, and they go to the court proceedings and they legalize the name. But the question is, can I use that in application? The answer is, the national identity or the marriage certificate, they don't matter in the application. So whichever name appears on your marriage or your national identity card does not matter at all. What matters is what appears on your birth certificate or your passport. Therefore, in this case, should I use my marriage names? No. Use the names on your birth certificate. And then when filling in the DS260, in the slot where you use other name used, that is where you will include your married names. Is that clear? The next question. How do I fill the details of my derivatives during the application? During the application, on the first page, the personal information, towards the end, immediately after the academic field, you have the following, where you choose whether you are single or married to a United States citizen or married to a non-United States citizen. That is the place where you select whether you are married. If you choose you are married, automatically the next page will be for your spouse. If you choose single, it will not appear on the next page. And for the children, down after the marriage area, you will have a small box to indicate the number of children that you have. You will put a numeral. If you have 3, you put 3. If you have 4, you put number 4. If you have 1, you put 1. If you don't have, you put 0. And when you put 0, there will not be pages for the derivative information. But if you put you have 2 children, the next pages that will follow will be 2 pages for those 2 children. If you put 3 pages for those children will come. If you put 4 pages of those children will come, where you will insert their information. And we are going to fill the DV lottery together with you, and you'll get the understanding. The other question: can I pay someone to fill in for me the application form in the DV lottery? The answer is you can, but you are risking. The best way to enter into the DV lottery entry is to do it yourself. Apply yourself. This is because you know yourself better than that person you intend to pay. Number 2, you are likely to avoid risking your application. You never know what that person will fill in your application. Don't pay someone even if you can. Do your own application. If you don't understand anything, seek consultation, but not paying someone to apply for you. The last question: where do I fill in my DV lottery? The page for the application will only open during the opening date. And this is found on the dvprogram.state.gov website. That is the only legal website where you can do your application. Nothing or no other place should you place your application. Avoid scammers. Visit dvprogram.state.gov to make your application when the opening date comes. Right now, it is not opened. Even if you visit that place, you'll not find the open slot for you to apply. I hope I've answered the questions clearly. So if you like the video, like it, and also subscribe to the channel, and let's meet in the next one.